Welcome all to Stuttgart, welcome to the German Masters, and of course, welcome to this, the FEI Dressage World Cup. It is leg 3 of 11 for the Western European League, and we are here at the Hans Martin Scheele Hall, back for the first time since 2019 to one of the most prestigious venues in the sport. Great to be here in Germany, and a phenomenal lineup ahead of this, the third leg of the Western European League. The Grand Prix here this morning, the freestyle coming tomorrow evening, and a stellar lineup of some of the world's best riders. We've got a total of 9 nations, 16 riders coming in to enjoy here, and the Grand Prix giving us a wonderful feel, a wonderful flavour ahead of the freestyle tomorrow. We've seen 2 quite sensational legs already in Wilhelmsburg, and, well, what more can we say about Lyon when we enjoyed that amazing test from the reigning holder of the FEI Dressage World Cup, Jessica van Bredow-Werndl, just 2 weeks ago. Well, there is the current points table, the overall standings. In fact, sees her brother leading the way. He part of the occasion here today for Germany. Benjamin Vendel leading ahead of Patrick Kittel, and Nana there for Denmark sitting in third. But there are many legs still to go, a total of 11 legs over the course of the season. We move from Stuttgart on through the likes of Madrid, Mechelen, Basel, Amsterdam, Newminster, Gothenburg, and then on to Den Bosch before we look to the final in Omaha in April. Here are the runners and riders today, starting with the world number 1. Today, she rides Ferdinand BB, of course, as the reigning champion, competing for a second time here, will guarantee her place in Omaha. But much to enjoy beyond that as well. And you can see some huge names looking to put their name on the trophy here, with the likes of Ingrid Klimke, Dorothy Schneider, Isabell Werth, and Benjamin Vendel going towards the end there, certainly making sure that the German contingent is very, very strong. But as you can see, many more beyond that as well, with the likes of Emily Scholtens in there for the Netherlands. It's going to be exciting. It will be unpredictable, because you never quite know how the horses are going to perform when they get down there on the arena floor. Well, excitement ahead of us, lots to enjoy, and this arena is a absolutely stunning setting. It's a fabulous city. We've really missed being here in Stuttgart for obvious reasons with COVID over the past 2 years, but very much back and looking forward to the full programme here this year. The judges just getting themselves ready down there and around the arena, as you can see, and already, despite the early hour, plenty of people making their way in and getting set to enjoy the competition. The judges today, let's remind you as to who is going to be awarding the marks in this FEI Dressage World Cup Grand Prix. We have at E, Hans Christian Matheson from Denmark. At H, it is Dutch international judge Monique Prinsevedke. The president for the class, Luxembourg's Christoph Umbach. At M is Dr. Evie Einstadt for Germany. And at B for Sweden is Magnus Ringmark. Well, alongside me is Bobby Haler. Down there on the arena floor is the world number 1, the lady that will look to defend that FEI Dressage World Cup title come Omaha. She absolutely wowed us with a fabulous new freestyle on her Olympic and World Cup winning ride just 2 weeks ago, TSF Delera BB, with that brilliant score of that brilliant score we saw in Lyon in the freestyle that was over 90%. Today, back with Ferdinand BB, Jessica van Bredow-Werndl. She has a personal best with this horse of 75.217 in Grand Prix competition. And of course, getting back together with this ride. Congratulations to Jessica, of course, on the arrival of her new daughter, 12 weeks, I think that was, ago now. While she was off on maternity leave, been ridden in the under-25s by Rafael Netz, Ferdinand, the 13-year-old gelding by Florencio out of a Luciano mare. This Hanoverian gelding then is out to set the standard. It's a ride that Jessica used very well last year. Had a very good win in the Grand Prix Special in Aachen last year, and her last ride was a winning ride in April of this year in Stadia Prada in the freestyle. So already has proved to be a wonderful ride alongside her superstar. And today, to get things underway with the world number one in the Grand Prix Dressage here for the FEI Dressage World Cup at the Stuttgart German Masters. It is Ferdinand BB for Germany with world number one, Jessica von Bredow-Werndl. Bobby Haler, good morning. This is what we've been looking forward to.
Yes, morning, Gareth. It is indeed. I am incredibly excited. And now she's coming down that centre line underway. And what an experienced rider. I'm very excited about this combination. And you mentioned earlier there, Gareth, that one of the biggest things is the atmosphere in this stadium. I mean, it's absolutely huge in there, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And despite the fact there may not be a full house here this morning, it's still quite some setting.
She's coming now into a very bold extended trot. And Jessica's going to be a little bit careful. You can obviously see there that when she came into the first halt, he was a little bit nervous, anticipating the test ahead. So she'll be gradually now getting him through the test, letting him settle. And, when you watch Jessica, I think the most important thing when you're sat and you're watching at home is how she sets up every single movement. It's like she's telling the judges a story. You know where the beginning of the movement is, the middle, and where the end is, especially when you're riding something as steep as the 2 half passes there. Just getting a little bit spooked there coming into the halt. And again, if you look at where the seating is and everything, it's actually above their eye line. So once they suddenly see something, it's quite spooky for them.
Yeah, and that's certainly reflected in the marks with the halt. 5.5s and 6s just losing the contact as the horse tensed up a little bit.
Very smooth transition coming into the passage. I think what fascinates me completely about the way Jessica rides is how she has this incredible open frame with the horse. The horse is always continuing to be able to go into the forward contact. And you can just see that, tiny green mistakes. Lovely passage, but he didn't quite let her adjust him enough to get into the piaffe. So again, there's that rhythm mistake. And then that's sadly going to be very costly.
Yeah, once you lose the rhythm in any stage of the test, it can certainly affect your marks. And again, the marks certainly just being cost, but still getting some very good averages of 8s and 7s in all her other movements as she now comes into the walk and really looking strong and opening up through that extended walk.
It was always quite interesting when you watch a horse, you can see that's finding the atmosphere sometimes a little bit much, how they come into the walk. He relaxed really well there going into the extended, but you can just see now how he's getting a little bit tighter again. He's anticipating the passage transition that's coming up. one-time changes. Oh,
Just
she's
getting
doing very well. I was going to say
little bit
that
of a
was
problem
clever,
in the
wasn't it?
middle.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't have a mistake in the changes, which was brilliant, but of course she had one quite large change. But I mean, again, what experience to be able to keep that like that. And then we come into the canter pirouette, where you've always got to imagine that you're cantering around a very small dinner plate. Very nice single change. And it's a very difficult thing to be able to keep the horse actually on the centre line, because you've got that judge at sea staring you out, making sure that you don't step either side of that centre line. So it's incredibly important that you're accurate.
And despite the odd little issue, Ferdinand actually looks to have relaxed more and more, and as the test has gone on.
You really saw that actually after he started getting through the zigzag and letting Jessica's legs on and letting Jessica actually adjust him enough. I mean, now look at that. You know, you can literally see how he's pausing, and you can just see almost like that pause with each foot. And again, a very smooth transition coming into the piaffe. So this is the potential. This is what the horse does when he's relaxed. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, and the mark's certainly strengthening up towards the end of the test. Of course, there's one or two little issues in there which will have their effect on the overall score. But what a partnership they have the potential to make.
Absolutely. And I think, okay, yes, the mistakes that happened were very expensive mistakes, but you know, I bet Jessica Holton wish she could just start again now from that last centre line, because he really came down there, and the day that he can pull that out the bag every single time, you know, it's going to be incredible for her. And that's him underpowered. You know that she went through that test with him easy, relaxed, just trying to give him a really nice, smooth ride. Wait for that day when she can do that foot perfect test and add the power in there. It's going to be incredible.
I think the smile said it all when she finished. Very happy with how that has gone, as the first out in the Grand Prix here is the world number one with, though, Ferdinand BB today. And what a partnership they have, the potential. Going back and having a little look at some of the highlights through the slow-mo here for Jessica. Certainly a mark that's looking to be well over 72% as it stands, with those scores coming in. In fact, here are the scores. At E, 72.174. At H, 72.174. C, 72.391. M, 71.848. B, 74.239. It is a strong start, therefore 72.565 for the first partnership in the Grand Prix. Jessica von Bredow-Werndl there, and Ferdinand BB. And I would hope that she's quite happy with the way that went. Always things to learn from. And as you said, Bobby, there is just so much to like. And once those sort of nervous moments sort of become a thing of the past, then you can really see the score just moving upwards very, very quickly.
Yes, definitely. And every mistake she had was actually in the double marks. So that's even more expensive, you know, in your piaffe. It's incredibly expensive because she would have lost a transition in and out. So it, you know, huge, huge scores to come.
Well, we move on, and 72.565 is that standard set. To the ride now for Estelle Wettstein, riding Great Escape Camelot, the 11-year-old gelding by Johnson. It is then for Switzerland. The young lady that, of course, has had a big year, rode very well in Rotterdam, was in fact her last ride, and finished 8th there in the freestyle with a score of 74.635. Finished 5th in Mannheim this year. Rode last year with Quarterboy in the European Championships at Hagen. And this then is Estelle Wettstein. Very successful youth rider. Went very well in the young riders, coming up through those youth categories, and now established very much at championship level as well.
Very strong start to her test. You know, she didn't come in with that perfect square halt the judges would be looking for, so she's not going to be on a huge mark to start off with. But you know, as you're watching the test go on here, the horse has so much excitement in each step. You know, you can really see him bouncing through on the diagonal pairs there in the trot. And I think when you see a horse that moves really lovely with this much expression, it's always interesting to see how they do the half passes there, that they don't lose that quality. And again, coming into the halt, it was good. You really want to see them, stand there for 3 seconds, nice and easy, and knowing that the horse is listening, but clear diagonal pairs in the rein back.
Yeah, quite a short halt on that occasion.
It was, but I think maybe, we don't know what they're feeling, do we? We don't know what the feel is out there. Do you sacrifice one mark to make sure that you get the whole movement? And that's one thing these riders will be doing. Every single stride, they're assessing the horse. What can they do? How much can they ask for? And that's why they are the best riders in the world.
100%. You need to ensure it's about keeping the horse relaxed at the end of the day, because if you have to sacrifice one mark in one place to keep the horse relaxed, to be able to pick up the big marks, because you don't want that tension to creep in. And now moving away in the extended walk.
You would just like to see a little bit more over track in the extended walk, a nice clear V under the horse's stomach. You want to see almost those hind feet stepping on the front feet. And that's when the horse is really sort of walking like a lion, I always try and say, when you try and explain an extended walk. And what's very interesting here is how clever she's riding that collected walk, because the horse knows the passage is coming. Yeah, you have to be able to put enough revs in to get the passage transition, but not too many revs that you lose the collective walk. It's not easy.
Stopping the horse from predicting what is coming is all part of the trick.
Yeah. And when she went into that first passage, she didn't quite have him enough. She didn't quite shorten the wheelbase enough, and I don't think he quite let her in. So, of course, when she needed the transition there coming into the piaffe, he wasn't there enough for her. So I think next time she's going to be a little bit quicker to make sure that he's a bit more on her seat and shorter in that wheelbase. That is the most amount of time you have in the whole Grand Prix test, that going from that canter transition, all that short side before you have to do a movement. And it's the most important one, because you really have to make sure that the horse is listening to you again. You're going straight into those 2-time changes, which she's pulled off beautifully.
It's always been a test that keeps you on your toes, keeps you thinking.
It is, and it's a very good test to ride. Each movement really sets up the next one. It's not there to put you out to make it difficult. It's actually there to help you and set up the next movement. So if you can get that connection with the horse and get the aids right on the day, then it really is a nice test to ride. And then we come into the zigzag, which is, 6 steps sideways, which is very difficult because you need to be able to go sideways 4 and then straight for 2 before the flying change. So that really does come up quick on top of you.
Into the flying changes.
Those 1-time changes, 15 of them. And you can clearly see there how the horse is skipping from one leg to the other. And this horse is doing a really, really nice test. And she's getting very good in the marks. But to get those higher marks, you would want to see that moment of pause, as if she has the ability to make the horse just wait for a second. Just there before the pirouette. Wait, let me turn you. You can just see there, he's like, Mum, I've got this.
Goes back to that moment where they just begin to predict things a little bit. And again, just struggling in that second pirouette. Got a little bit interrupted.
It's really interesting, actually, as they're coming into that uphill stride, how something high up is just catching all their eyes. And that would have been a shame there in that canter pirouette.
Yeah, and of course,
very good.
It's a double coefficient as well,
which makes it expensive. But she did very well there, actually, to get him back into that trot transition again from the canter in the corner.
Lovely movement through the extended trot.
This horse has a real nice engine, and it really does show the expression through the shoulder. You can clearly see there, how much energy the horse has. It's almost like it's jumping on a little trampoline at every stride. And that's really important to have that. But at the moment, she's just not quite getting that adjustability to be able to change the gears within the pace. And I think that shows up when she comes into the Piaffe and comes out of the Passage, Piaffe into the Passage. A very good job, but you're just losing a gear.
Well, there we have it. Just finished the second out in the Grand Prix, in the dressage here for this Grand Prix. The precursor, of course, to the freestyle tomorrow. Estelle Wettstein for the Swiss there with Great Escape Camelot, another very nice partnership, of course. She's got another very good horse as well, which we've seen in the past, West Side Story OLD, the ride from Tokyo and the Europeans that she's competed at championship level. And this is another that is certainly building towards bigger things in the sport. It was just those couple of moments. There was plenty to enjoy, plenty to like, but of course when you have an issue in the likes of the pirouette, it can suddenly just drag you down, and it was that particular moment that really, I think, will have hamstrung her on the score. But there are the scores at E67.826, H67.826, identical, C 70.217. Then you've got at M 70.543, and then you've got at B 67.283. So it's a total of 68.739. 68.739 is obviously the second best of the scores. But I think again, Bobby, that's another that's got a lot to look forward to in the future.
Yes, I think what's so exciting and what we're going to see a lot today is the quality of the horse, and you're going to see a real good class of pure training. You're going to learn an awful lot watching the Grand Prix today, because you've got some younger horses, not experienced horses, and you've got more experienced horses that you can compare. But the biggest thing for me is that the quality of these horses is insane. You know, he's got so much ability here. Look at that extended canter. He just needs that bit more time, a bit more experience sometimes in some of the movements and some of the transitions, just to gain those extra marks.
Well, already the bell sounding for the next to go as we just look back one more. It was just that pirouette, it was the second of the pirouettes that really caused the problem. But nevertheless, at the moment, Jessica van Bredow-Werndl has set the standard 565 for the Netherlands. Dinja van Liere now with Hartsurke, the 10-year-old gelding by Johnson. For this is, of course, another very experienced rider for the Netherlands. This wonderful gelding, new in 2022, did compete in Ixlu, scored 77.960. She's got that very strong championship ride, Hout Couture, that of course took her to World Championship bronze this year with that 86.9% score in the freestyle. Had that magnificent run with Hermes NOP to take the bronze. So was particularly strong this summer at the World Championships, and I'm really looking forward again to seeing another very exciting member of her stable here, Dinja van Liere.
Very strong start already coming into the Grand Prix here. And what I love about, you know, this rider and this combination, I've watched a little bit, is the fact that he really lets her set up each movement exactly where she wants to pause, where she wants to bend in, where she wants to transition. Yeah, again, very clever riding. He just wanted to take over after saying that. He just wanted to take over in the rein back there, but a very good transition going into the extended trot.
Lovely passage.
And there's that air time, you know, that moment of just pause. So you can clearly see what each leg is doing. Incredibly active in the Piaffe. Again, he's got such a good Piaffe. It's just having that ability to be able to come from the Piaffe into a smoother passage transition.
Yeah, you need to be very clear coming out of the Piaffe into the passage again to ensure those good marks. Then just making sure they keep the rhythm in the passage.
And again, here you'd just like to see him take his nose out a bit more and extend the body, you know, in the extended walk. The judges want to see the whole horse extend, but stay engaged. And you just saw some very quick riding there. Did you see how quickly she just shortened her reins? Because you could just see him just anticipating that transition. And because she was very quick to ride, she managed to really contain.
It's just having that feel, having that understanding of exactly what is about to happen. But again, looking really good in the passage. Certainly one of the highlights of the test so far. And overall, good strong start in terms of the marks.
Yeah, and you know, when she can just get him to slow down the piaffe, you know, it's really important to have an active piaffe, but we mustn't get confused with activity thinking quickness. Yeah, we don't want the legs going so quick that you can't quite keep up with them. So the horse has to be active, but again, being able to have that moment of pause, using their core to wait, and you can just see there in the piaffe, that's just what he needs to do a bit more.
Yeah, because otherwise the hocks can get a little bit high behind, and a little bit of tension can sort of look like it's crept in.
That's very true, Gareth. Very nice ground cover in the 2-time changes. And, you know, you've always got to think about that balance there in the 2-time changes. You know, you want the horse to have a really big flying change, but again, not so big that then you're going to have a mistake. Again, there you would just like to see his frame extend more, coming into the extended canter. Very good positioning in the canter zigzags. You just want to see a bit more jump coming into the canter just before the flying changes. And the 1-time changes where I think everybody holds their breath until the end.
Nothing like breathing while you're competing.
And again, very clear 1-time changes. Yes, of course, we'd like to see a bit more ground cover, but again, they were very correct. And the preparation coming into the canter pirouette, where the horse is taking the balance on the inside hind leg so the horse can continue to step around that small circle. If you watch here how she makes the horse sit, makes him wait, then allows him to turn. And again, then when he finds something a bit difficult, his tendency sometimes is to get a bit too quick within the stride.
Yeah, it sort of looks like he almost loses his balance at that point, just a tiny bit, but...
Yeah, exactly. And again, that comes down to the actual experience of the rider, how she was just able just to make him wait one more stride before she came out. Lovely expression there going into the extended trot. And then down this final centre line. Clear diagonal pairs coming into the passage. Yeah. And that's a little bit what he doesn't let her do. Have that moment of condensing him to be able to come into the piaffe.
Yeah, just tensed up a little bit in the piaffe there.
Oh, very well ridden.
It comes out of it excellently.
And he actually allowed her just to be able to slow the piaffe there, just to give himself more time to come out into the passage.
Yeah, lost a little bit in terms of the marks with the transition from that piaffe to passage, just as the rhythm did get affected, but nevertheless there was so much to enjoy throughout the test, and it looks to perhaps be the best so far, although it's going to be very, very close with the test we saw a little earlier from Jessica. But Dinja van Liere there with Hartsuka for the Netherlands, the young star, of course, that took that individual bronze at the World Championships on Hermes NOP this summer, is smiling and waving to the audience here in Stuttgart as the scores get closer. We can have a close-up look at some of the movements. In fact, here are the scores to give you. It is at E, 72.717, at H, 73. 71.043. At C, 71.522. At M, 72.283. And at B, 73.370. It is a new leading score, and only by a fraction though, 72.587. So 72.587 versus 72.565, which was Jessica's score on Ferdinand. But congratulations there to Dinja van Liere there and Harshuka as they take over at the top in the Grand Prix. Well deserved, I feel, but it was a close thing.
It was, and it was incredibly well deserved. I mean, you know, if that's the score she's getting when she can't quite ride him how she'd like at the moment, and again the huge scores are just going to keep coming. And I think even now when you watch here in that extended canter, the ability that the horse has to sit as well as being able to push, and that's what the Grand Prix is all about. The Grand Prix is all about transitions, adjustability. It's amazing, actually, you know, if you really worked out how, and I'm sure somebody has, you could find the facts, but how many transitions, how many half faults you have to do within the whole Grand Prix. I mean, I think it's probably every other stride.
Well, on we move. And for South Africa now, it is Greta Ferreira riding Zidane, the 14-year-old stallion by Blue Horse Zach, out of Landoga mare. And Greta, who is based here in Germany, rode a horse called Letrang's Lavinia at the World Championships in 2018, and rode this horse at the World Championships in Herning this year. Competed in the Grand Prix, scoring 70% exactly. Went well in Hagen in the past as well. There's a partnership that this year in the freestyle, in fact in Aachen, scored over 72%. We'll see that hopefully improve maybe in the freestyle tomorrow. Horse started at Grand Prix level just a couple of years ago. So for South Africa, Greta Ferreira and Zidane.
A very nice square halt to start the test. And a good transition there at the end of the extended trot. Just coming into the first half pass to the right, where you would just like to see a bit more body bend, you know, a bit more of that banana around the rider's inside leg. Stop laughing, Gareth. I can hear you laughing at my banana reference.
It's the banana. It's always been by far the most eloquently put explanation that I've ever come across, and it's not the first time, but it is so accurate. Now we come to the halt.
And it's interesting, she's the first rider we've seen so far today that's actually waited those 3 seconds, you know, to let the halt actually, it must be, you know, immobile for 3 seconds.
Just needs to make sure it's nice and straight with that rein back.
Then just coming into the transition into the passage, you know, the rein back can really help in so many ways to get the horse back on the hind leg before that extended trot, to be able to get the energy you need coming into the passage.
Yeah,
I would just like, oh sorry,
I was going to say, I just with the passage, just perhaps just wanting just to have a little bit more engagement.
Exactly, and you saw that then create a problem into the piaffe, because as the horse came into the piaffe, he actually slowed too much, so he stalled. Yeah, he wasn't able to keep the weight over his front feet. We must remember the piaffe is still a forward movement, so the horse must always continue travelling into the contact. So sadly, that's going to be quite costly.
Yeah, it has been that little area of marks that has sort of dragged them down slightly. You can see the score being reflected in that. Again, just needing a little bit more over track and activity in the extended walk.
And you can see the outcome to that was into the contact. The horse wasn't still enough and taking the bridle out in front of her. So that would explain what you're saying there, not having enough over track, enough quickness in the hind leg. Be interesting to see here how she gets into the passage with him. Yeah, she just did half a little stride of piaffe there just to make him wait, which is very clever, and it was very important. She needed to do that. And I think with him that you have to be very clever how you ride the transition into the piaffe. You almost need to start the piaffe a bit slower and then quicken because he just oversits. He just comes up a bit too high in front. Yeah, but obviously we have the riders that can get a horse into Grand Prix in the whole first year and win gold medals. But generally, it takes a good 3 years for the horse to really understand and get into the Grand Prix and find the Grand Prix easy enough to be able to be as adjustable as what the judges want to see. It does take time. It's a hard test for them. You can just see here how she's really clearly riding from leg into both reins, allowing him to jump from each leg into the contact. And for the higher marks, you'd like to see a bit more jump in the canter, but at the end of the day, she's doing quite a correct test here, which again does pull in the marks.
Yeah, the marks settling down a little bit. Plenty of 7.5s after those few little issues that we saw in the Passage and the Piaffe.
Yeah, you'll find that. And I think he'll come into his own here into the canter, and the marks will start getting higher. He does find the canter easier. You can see how he's more adjustable. Again, that's what it's all about, that adjustability. You've got to think, how many times do you have to prepare the horse in that canter zigzag? You're constantly moving the ribs, moving the bend, asking them to change legs. There's so much for the horse to do. Just a bit short there behind in the one-time change where the hind legs almost jump together behind. Just there in that first canter pirouette, she was very clever with the way she rode it. She didn't make him sit too much on that outside hind leg before he turned. She actually, if you can see there, lets the first stride be quite big so he can keep the momentum, can keep the energy that's needed for him to turn.
Yeah, looking nice through those canter pirouettes, and as you say, getting a little bit more comfortable with the movements that have been asked in this latter part of the test. Needs to keep that fluency.
Yeah, and you could just see they're going from that canter to trot. It's an incredibly hard transition to do, that canter to trot transition. The horses are expected to do anything else but actually trot. So you can just see there how he didn't quite get the clearness needed going canter trot. He had a little bit few walk strides. So again, that's going to be expensive. And there you can just see how he wants to almost step back in the Piaffe. He doesn't keep that travelling forward. And I think she was very clever to come out early then, because she just feel him get a little bit tight.
Yeah, I think that sensible, very fast feeling that she had just to let that transition happen just a little quicker certainly saved her a mark or two. But a lovely test all round, just those issues that creep in from time to time. And recurring, I guess, in terms of it being around the Piaffe and Passage, but nevertheless, that was for South Africa with Zidane, was Gaffer Ferreira finishing off as the fourth to go in this Grand Prix test. Lovely to see her. Plenty of positivity and very sensible riding. Big wave to the crowd, lovely smile, lovely lady. So well done to her. And of course, mark not too far away. 72.587 is the leading mark. And here are her marks. So let's bring them. 68.696, 65.543, C 68.913, M 67.283, B 66.413, and sorry, that was at M and then B. So then we have a total of 67.370. Goes obviously into fourth place of the four we've seen. That, you could easily see how just couple of little improvements in one or two areas and suddenly that score goes very simply over 70% next time out.
Yes, definitely, absolutely. And if we can just get those, if she can just get those transitions a little bit smoother in and out into the Piaffe as well, then already her marks will get a lot higher.
So, interesting start all round in Stuttgart here this morning, the Stuttgart German Masters, the FEI Dressage World Cup Grand Prix morning, freestyle, and of course the points-paying element of the Western European League will be here tomorrow night. This is the third leg of 11, having the full season of sport back with us this year on the road to Omaha and the United States of America for the finals next year. Well, on we go, and Belgium now. And this is Jorinde Verwimp riding Shamir, the 10-year-old gelding. And this young lady, of course, her father was a real star as well. I remember watching him at Windsor in 2009, Vim on Tiamo. But Shamir, the ride for Jorinde. And their first 5-star started in international competition back in 2021. Jorinde, whose personal best in the Grand Prix, 70.043. That was at Deauville in July in the 3-star. And already looks to be a lovely start, I was going to say, Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely. And I absolutely love watching her ride. You know, I've watched her journey right up through the junior young rides and all of that. And she's incredibly clever at making a horse trot, I have to say. She really has this ability to make them have so much more expression. And you can see that here with him, you know, when you saw that first extended trot there, it's just so elegant to watch. Again, here, look at that expression as she just comes into the halt.
Ooh, and you struggling a little bit there.
It was that last stride in that reinback where he just got a bit ahead of her. But again, you know, she loves hot horses. She doesn't want them lazy. She likes them hot. And you can see that. So it's such a fine line to be able to keep them on your side the whole test.
Well, obviously hit hard with the marks of the halt. And now just wants to just watch that she keeps things calm here through the passage. Again, just suffering a little bit with the piaffe. Just needs to calm down a little bit.
And he's such a young horse, really. Okay, you know, I think he's 10. You know, that's still such a young age to be a Grand Prix horse. And you can just see he has so much expression, but now he has to learn how to keep that expression and shorten his wheelbase. What you were saying there in the piaffe passage, guys, absolutely spot on. He doesn't at the moment have the strength to shorten the wheelbase and keep the power. So he can have power with a longer wheelbase, which is why there he lost the rhythm. So it'd be quite interesting here going from the collected walk, because, you know, he's going to have to shorten to get into the passage, but not get tense going into the transition itself. And you can just see that how she actually rode him a little bit forward and then now is using the turn to connect him. Just making him a little bit quicker there with her heels, just to try and give him the rhythm. You know, and that's what he's got to learn, you know, and he just at the moment can't quite think, right, okay, you need me shorter in the base, you need me to keep stepping, but it's too exciting and I want to have the biggest trot in the world. And you can just see there how it's getting, you know, the mistakes are coming in, it's expensive, but, you know, when you look into the future, it will be, you know, insane.
Yeah, it's just where that tension, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier, if you think back to the likes of the way Jessica rode with Ferdinand, as a rider, they're all so clever at it, and it comes at different points where if you can predict that tension or just try and find your way out of it. You were saying at the time how you can sacrifice one mark here to try and ensure you get your marks in the next part of the test, and it has just been here for Jorinde, just a few different elements where that rhythm has just gone, and I think it has come from the tension that's really costing her in the mark set, because again now just relaxing through the canter a little bit more and you can see the marks starting to come back up again.
Exactly, and all the riders, you know, are coming out here today definitely thinking this is experience. You know, they're thinking the future here with these horses. So everything that's happening today, that's why she's there, you know, just keeping relaxed, staying very neutral in the saddle and just letting him come through the test and holding his hand as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, she's looking, you know, next year, the year after that, and everything. So there's such a bigger picture for them. You know, these competitions, you know, it's amazing, the World Cup, but it's also such great experience for the horse to put them in this much atmosphere. Very clever riding in the one-time changes there. You know, there was a moment where he wanted to add a bit too much power, and she was just able to keep them that bit smaller. And again, there you can see the body bend in the canter pirouette, but you just want to see that pause a bit more, that air time as the horse jumps through on the diagonal pair. You just want to say, wait, my turn. And you can just see at the moment where she doesn't quite have the speed control that she needs. She has to ride them a bit clever, so there's no mistakes.
Yeah, just having a little bit of an issue in the...
Yeah, but again, you know,
trot.
You can just see that how relaxed she was and very clever. Did you see how she bent him to the outside? Yeah, because he was already on right canter, so she bent him to the outside to put him slightly off balance, so he wanted to trot. So again, you know, incredibly clever riding.
Very fast thinking.
And you can just see that, you know, he's got the expression in the front legs, and you can really see how he can sit behind. You just want to see him shorten underneath that bit more. Definitely the best piaffe she's had in the test. Ooh, steady.
Just careful coming out. Need to just watch that transition's as smooth as possible.
And to ride horses at this level, you know, the horse has to be keen. They have to want to do it for you. And you can clearly see how much he wants to go and how much he wants to give. And that's really important. But you could just see there how expensive it was at times at the moment.
Yeah, only a 10-year-old, and you can just imagine that over the next 2 or 3 years, they're going to just allow the potential to be realised. And she's certainly a very, very talented young rider that has established herself well now in the international sport. And Chameur there with Jorinde Verwimp for Belgium, giving her best as we go back to some of the highlights. It's got all the movements. Here's the score: E65.978, H68.961, C66.630, at M67.391, and at B67.391. It's a total of 67.217 today, and puts them into 5th place. That is Jorinde Verwimp and Chameur still leading at the moment. Then is Dinja van Liere for the Netherlands, 72.587. But it's a horse, as we said, Bobby, wants to do it, and they're just looking to find the final sort of keys to get through those last few doors over the next year or two.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that, you know, they're going to be working at with him as a team is to get him that bit stronger. Yeah, so he's able to use his core a little bit more. You know, if you've got to think of someone being able to plank in the gym, you know, he's got to technically plank for 6 minutes to get through this test, you know, and that's just being a little bit stronger to be able to have that adjustability through the core. And I think that's what they're going to be working on for the next year, just to make sure that he can hold the movement that he offers.
Well, we move on as the crowd watch on, and we enjoy the Grand Prix test here this morning in Stuttgart, the German Masters. And it is Austria now with Renette Volsang riding here with first Ferdinand Zer van der Storhola, the 13-year-old gelding by Forrest Holstein. Austrian combination then. Renette, and her last outing with this horse would have been in October in Belgium in Torresdorf. Their first 5-star World Cup show together. They've had a personal best in Grand Prix, was in fact in Austria this year in July when they scored 73.609. Renette, who's based here in Germany, with first Ferdinand looking to challenge a score that leads of 72.587. And a lovely start, I felt, down that centre line.
Absolutely, Gareth. And it was, you know, again, you saw how she really used the corner to prepare him for the extended trot. And if you just watch how these riders use the whole arena, you know, this corner coming up now is so important because it gives the body bend needed to get the half pass. The half passes are so steep that you can't waste any time getting that preparation in there. And he just got a little bit tight there in the first couple of strides. So she just made sure that she was able to make the trot a bit bigger so that he wasn't over sitting. So he was able still to flow through into the bridle. And again, you can see how she clearly came through the corner to prepare for the halt. Stand. Looks like he's on hot plates. Stand still.
I was going to say, just won't quite let his feet rest on the sand.
Which again is going to be costly. You know, the halt has to be very clear, and of course there it wasn't. So you know, it'll be interesting to see how the judges will mark that.
Yeah, the judges have gone from 5 to 6 across them, being penalised, and then just coming out nicely in through that extended trot into the passage now.
Yeah, I would like to have seen a bit more in the extended trot, but I think she was careful there that she didn't have too much so that he was able then to get into the passage, because you can just see what he struggles with is the quickness needed, you know, that activity that he needs, especially there in the piaffe.
Yeah, with the extended trot, you so often feel that, you know, riders need to have the confidence in the horses to really be able to take the risk with the extended to really pick up the big marks.
And rightly so, they do. But at sometimes they've got to think, you know, what the next movement is. You know, if you've just got an extended trot and a whole short side, crack on and get that 10. But, you know, she's got to do the extended trot and get into that smooth passage transition straight away. So, you know, you really have to know the horse and read the horse.
Obviously, canted out of that piaffe into the passage, and that, again, just hitting them on the marks.
Yeah, and he was there in the collective walk. Again, we've spoken a lot about this so far already. The fact that, you know, it's a fine line. They have to be looking relaxed in the collective walk, but they then have to become active enough to get into the passage transition. And again, it was just lacking that quickness that he needed, that activity underneath himself to be able to get that smooth passage transition. And you can just see here, that's a little bit just what he's losing.
Ooh, again, just
pause too much in that, and
Yeah.
you find that he was getting too slow in the passage, so he didn't have enough revs basically to get into the canter, so he stalled. You know, you've got to think of that heel start when you're driving a car and you want to feel that pull, and that's a little bit there what she didn't have, so the canter didn't happen.
I think what I was going to say, it's just like getting the clutch balance and knowing that you need the biggest and most powerful of engines behind you.
Exactly, and I think she's really going to want to use this extended canter here just to get him back and a bit quicker in front of her leg. You know, I'd like to see her hopefully really push. Come on, you want to push a bit more. That's getting better, just so that she says, right, come on, actually, you need to get in front of me. And again, we must talk about the atmosphere in there. It is a lot. Every horse will react differently. Some will come in and get a bit shy. Others will come in and get really hot. And I think we've seen a variety already. And we've only had a few riders, you know, go today.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages of having the Grand Prix that little bit earlier in the day, when they first come in, it does just perhaps keep it a little bit quieter, despite, you know, the crowd being here, just getting stuck in the corner there.
I don't know what you saw on the floor. He was like, oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost like looking in a mirror and, oh, hang on, that's moment, it's me. But yeah, I was going to say,
but again, it just highlights the rider. You know, she didn't bluster, very quickly got back into canter, and I think it shocked her a bit as well. But at a level like this, of course, it's very costly, especially with that many judges.
I think it's been a demonstration across the board here so far with these top jockeys, these top riders, just, you know, how fast they have to think in the saddle and constant reaction. And so often you can look and sort of think, what are you doing? How much work is going on? But it's phenomenal, the effort and understanding, the harmony between horse and rider. And
well, it's when you get to watch at this level, it's an absolute masterclass, isn't it? Every single rider can sit and watch this and learn something from every single test and every single rider. And look how interesting that is, how much better his trot has got now after having all that canter work. So it will be nice to see how he comes down the centre line here. And you'll find that you can see now, after he saw the ghost in the flower pot, he's actually gained a bit more confidence. Just going to be able to see here if she can shorten him enough to get it into the piaffe. And here she's going to be wanting to think forward, that always having that exit stride to help him keep the ability to step. You can just see there how he's showing his tension a little bit, his nerves through the contact. But again, she's keeping very neutral and just helping him get through the test.
Yeah, travelled a little bit in the piaffe, but finishing off very, very well ridden. And impressive there from Renette Volslang with First Ferdinand. The partnership here for Austria in the Grand Prix this morning. And again, plenty that could be enjoyed. Just again, you just, as always is the case, you can just find there's just those moments in tests where things slightly go awry, and despite Casper the Friendly Ghost appearing in the flower pot, it was more in the passage, that transition early on coming out and into the passage, that will have really cost them, where they have been penalised by the judges. But here are the overall scores. It is E 65-217, H 65-109, at C 65-978, at M 68-913, and at B 66-522, which is 66.348%. So 66.348, as you can see, goes into 6th place for Renette Volslang there, and First Ferdinand. So still leading. It is the combination for the Netherlands of Dinja van Liere and Hart Zirker, and that leading score is 72.587, ahead of Jessica van Bredow-Werndl and Ferdinand BB, who is only the smallest of fractions behind on 72.565. And third at the moment is Estelle Wettstein and Great Escape Camelot for Switzerland, as we just enjoy some of the highlights there through the differing movements. But looking at the changes, I'm amazed.
And you can just see there, how he found the canter much easier than the trot work with the piaffe passage. And I think, I think she will be a little bit disappointed with the test, especially, the random sort of spook he had. She's going to want to go back and have a little bit of a chat with her team about that, on how that they can make the trot a little bit quicker underneath her so that she has the adjustability that she needs.
Well, on we go, and Denmark next, and a rider that rode at the European Championships in 2013 on a horse called Fitu L. It is Lombang Zindorov riding though today with Thargarens Rostov. This is a 12-year-old mare by Romanov out of a diamond mare. It's a partnership that rode in Herning in March in the World Cup round. They scored well there to finish in 6th place with a personal best in the freestyle that day of 79.525. Had a win in Aalborg in Denmark in May of this year. And also we saw this combination compete in Willemsborg in the opening leg of this season's Western European League, where they scored 69.632% in the Grand Prix. Finished in 7th in the freestyle. So Lombang Zindorov for Denmark. And just struggling a little bit with those transitions early on in the piaffe.
Yeah, I was just there watching the half passes. Really nice expression there on the diagonal pairs in the half pass. I would like to see more body bend, but again, it's a difficult line, because if you add more body bend, you're going to lose the expression in the trot. So it's about finding that balance. Again, that was quite costly. Of course, the horse looked up at something again into the stand, and the hole wasn't square, which made it quite difficult to have those clear diagonal pairs back into the rein back. But the horse has such a lovely movement through the forearm. She's a very leggy mare, which is always really nice, always incredibly elegant. She's just losing some rhythm there coming in to the passage, again there into the piaffe. There wasn't a clear enough diagonal pair. You know, what you really want to see is the outside hind kicking the inside foreleg out the way, and she's just not quite getting that rhythm.
Relaxing down into the extended walk. Still scoring very well as it stands. It's just that initial halt and the rein back where they've in any way really cost themselves.
Really nice to see the relaxation there in the extended walk. And the mare has so much expression, you know, it's so lovely to watch. It's a, you know, it's a really elegant picture, which makes everything look better to bring those marks in. A smooth transition going into the passage. The turn here really helps to get the horse actually on the hind leg before you come into the piaffe. And she just needs to find her rhythm a bit more in the piaffe. You know, she sort of has 10 piaffes there.
Just started to look a little bit uneven in places, but
yeah, exactly. And I think with this mare in particular, I think it's the confidence that she can actually sit and wait and take that time in the piaffe. You could see there again in the passage on the way out. You know, she's anticipating the canter. She wants to get going. I think she's quite a hot mare. Coming into those 2-time changes where the horse jumps through every second stride. Very clean, very nice transition at the end.
Now to the extended canter.
A nice bold extended canter. And it's very important as well that it's a clear transition. You know, 2 strides of collected canter before the flying change. So you show that you have the adjustability for gears that the judges expect. You can see here how you've got your 4 sideways strides, 2 strides straight before the flying change.
Looks really relaxed in the canter work.
Yeah, definitely. I think again she finds the canter a little bit easier.
It's certainly reflecting in their score as well, because getting over 70% on that average as it stands.
Very good changes. I always stop. I always pause with those. I mustn't say anything. No, 15 flying changes. And we come in here already watching the preparation to the canter pirouette to the left. Yeah, and you could see there actually how she had that moment on the centre line where she was able to make her weight before she started turning. And, you know, that's what we haven't seen so much with the greener horses already this morning. You can see she's waiting. It's her turn. It's her stride. She chooses the speed she wants to turn. You know, it's that control needed.
Very nice second pirouette. Now this important.
And again, there you could see there, yeah, when she went from the canter, how quickly she bent into her to the outside, so that she didn't even think about having a mistake there going into the trot transition. It'd be interesting to see after the canter work now. The mare is relaxed behind the saddle a little bit more, and you can see that there coming into the passage. But you just want to see her come up in her stomach and over her back a bit more into that contact, and dropping her head carriage just down and out a bit more, just to help with those bigger strides in the piaffe.
What a lovely test that was. There was so much to enjoy. Very, very well ridden. Very consistent throughout. Always going to be moments where things become difficult, but all in all, a very strong performance from that combination of Lombard-Niederdorf and Thargarden's Rostov for Denmark. Of course, we saw them in the short test in Wilhelmsborg just a few weeks ago. That day, 69.632. Today, looking well over 70% in terms of the scores. be absolutely delighted, I feel, with the way that wonderful mare Baromarov has gone, and there it is. So across the judges, they all agree, plus 70 at E, 71.630, at H, 70.761, at C, 71.196, at M, 70.543, and at B, 70.978. So it is 71.022, and clearly into third place. I really enjoyed that test.
Very attractive mare, wasn't she? A really nice combination. I think as well, you know, you all saw a little bit there. It needed to have the balance a bit more in the Piaffe Passage for those higher marks. Again, they are double marks. So if she's already getting 71% with, you know, losing the rhythm there, not quite having the smooth transitions needed, you can clearly see the potential that they have as a combination.
Certainly do, and we'll of course look forward to seeing them in the freestyle action to see if they can improve on their performance from Wilhelmsburg, where of course we saw them in action scoring 79.165. Sorry, 71.165 just a few weeks back. Now we move on. It is to Frederick Wonders and Bluetooth OLD, Germany, and this, in fact, to take us up to the break as well, the 12-year-old gelding by Bordeaux. Of course, Frederick, with Duke of Britain, part of the Team Bronze at the World Championships this year. This is a ride that he started the year. In fact, he was riding out in the USA, in Wellington, in the World Cup shows there. Last year, put in a strong performance in Madrid as well, in finishing in 4th place at that FEI Dressage World Cup round. This is Bluetooth OLD, and this for Germany is an exciting ride for Frederick Wonders.
It was interesting to see how he did quite a few transitions around the outside of the arena there. And we must remember that's still part of their warm-up. It was quite good to see him do that, to keep the horse listening to him.
What a beautiful hall. The square as we've seen.
Yeah. And the smoothest transition out as well, Gareth. You know, it's very clear there that they went halt trot.
And it's certainly reflected in the marks from the start as well. The first time I've seen a 9 from any of the judges coming there.
Bluetooth has so much expression, and we've seen a lot of horses here with a lot of expression. I think the difference here already that we can see is that the horse is able to have the expression with the engagement. You know, the hind legs match the front legs to the extent of how much power that he has and the ability to be adjustable. You can see there how he very clearly was able to bend him around his inside leg, make him wait before he started the half pass. And again there, you know, 2 whole strides of left bend before he needed to leave the track. And that just really shows, you know, that moment of pause, that ability to be able to choose when and where you would like the horse to be.
Again, really confident, able to wait the few seconds before going into the rein back.
Very nice ground cover there in the extended trot, and a smooth transition coming into the passage. And you can see here in the passage how Bluetooth is staying connected, clear diagonal pairs. If anything, he's just getting a bit wide behind in the Piaffe, over-sitting a bit behind.
Lovely little pat just to relax Bluetooth just into the walk movements. And it's been an outstanding sort of step change from what we've been watching so far, and I think that's why the mark's reflecting now that little bit higher. As you said, it's that clarity, it's that ability to sort of be in control, and the horse is staying much more relaxed and allowing him to ride all of the different movements.
Definitely, even there, going from the passage to the extended walk, where you say, he was able to give him a pat. That's the point. He was able to give him a pat because the horse is still listening to him, still on his seat. A very clear transition going into the passage. And, I think, again, here, what you were saying there, Gareth, exactly, is that it's very obvious here how this combination has the ability to prepare a lot more for each movement within the test. Much better piaffe. He actually kept him travelling more in that piaffe than he did the first one, and I think it was just so that the horse had to keep stepping and not sit too much behind. So the adjustability here on the short side, making sure that he has the right canter needed for the two-time changes. And Bluetooth is so consistent, his head carriage hasn't changed since the moment he came down the centre line.
Just a little bit of a mistake towards the end.
He could just extend it a bit more there in the frame and in the extended canter, but a very clean flying change. And if you watch here how he's setting up each half pass, when he's asking Bluetooth to go to the side, when he's asking for the flying change. He was very clever there. Bluetooth just anticipated almost that flying change a stride too early. But he was just able to keep him together a little bit more there. Hopefully no mistakes here in the one-time changes. Very straight line of one-time changes.
Yeah, and again, still scoring very strongly in comparison to those that we've seen so far. Just a little step change.
6 to 8 strides they're allowed to have in the whole canter pirouette. And it's also marked the quality of the canter before and after the pirouette. So, there's a lot to be involved within that one mark, which is double marks as well. Very nice transition there going into the collected trot. Just lost rhythm there. That's a shame, just coming over that centre line. So the judges are going to want to see the regularity, and every now and then he just takes a slightly bigger step with the left hind leg in the passage. But definitely the best piaffe we've seen in the test.
I was going to say, really lovely piaffe to come down the centre line with. Here is a lovely demonstration, and again a very nice passage as well. Good transition. Well,
wow, yeah.
It started strongly, it finished strongly, and there was plenty of strength throughout from Frederick Wanderers and Bluetooth OLD here for Germany in front of their home crowd. They salute their audience. What a very, very impressive ride, I feel, and certainly I think the score will reflect that as well. We know there were just those moments, of course, the little mistake of the two-time and the little bit of loss of rhythm through that extended trot movement. But beside that, it was that absolute clarity, looking so good in all of the movements and really able to ride the test. And look at that score at E71.848, at H73.913, at C75.109, and at M75.217. B scores 74.457. It is a total of 74.109, and of course puts them into the lead as it stands. So Frederick Wanderers leads at the break with Bluetooth OLD. That was really, really good to watch, wasn't it, Bobby?
It really was. And you mentioned earlier when we watched the test how, they've sort of stepped up another level so far with what we've seen. And I think, the horse has the expression, but I think it also has the experience to be able to pull out a test like that, to have the adjustability. And that's why the marks were much higher.
Well, there are the marks so far. Frederick Wanders leads on Bluetooth 74.109 ahead of Dutch star Dinja van Liere and Hulstrucker on 72.587. And Jessica van Bredow-Werndl and Ferdinand BB, her ride today, 72.565, sits in third. The halfway point in the Grand Prix, the current standings here for leg 3 of 11 for the Western European League for this Longines FEI Dressage World Cup. We are with you in Stuttgart, and there are some very big names from the sport still to go. Some really exciting combinations. Germany certainly looking to have their day here at home, and they certainly have a chance with plenty of their stars still to come. We will take a short pause and leave you with some of the highlights, and we'll come back in a moment or two. Well, welcome back to Stuttgart for the FEI Dressage World Cup. And the second half of the FEI Grand Prix, the opening salvo for the dressage riders. We've seen 8 already, and now, after the break, we look forward to the second half, the second 8, and some very big names here for Stuttgart once more. It is leg 3 of 11 that make up the Western European League. The points, of course, awarded towards that league table in the freestyle tomorrow evening. The lead at the moment has been set by Frederick Wanders and Bluetooth OLD for Germany. 74.109 has set the standard so far with that test we saw just before the break. And there it is, the order at the moment. Dinja van Liere sits in second for the Netherlands, 72.587, and Jessica van Bredow-Werndl and Ferdinand BB, 72.565. Some really big names, and seeing some of their up-and-coming stars, in some cases some of the new talent alongside some of the well-established horses that we've seen and are yet to see as well. So fascinating competition. Bobby Hayler alongside me once more, and now getting underway for Australia is Simone Pierce riding Firedance, the 13-year-old stallion by Firedance out of a Blue Horse Don Schufro mare. Simone, who rode Destano in Tokyo last year, she took over the ride on Firedance in the spring of this year. Rode in the World Championships and scored a personal best in the Grand Prix that day of 73.463 in Herning this year.
A very strong start there, Gareth, coming down that first centre line. Really lovely expression there coming into that first extended trot.
Now into the half pass.
Yeah, and this horse has so much expression. It's so lovely to watch. He makes everything really look easy. You can just see here how, you know, he's gone from one steep half pass. He's now going back into the left, and there was no rhythm change. He kept the impulsion. He kept the regularity. And that's what's so important. But one of the hardest things to do when you have a horse that moves so beautifully, has so much expression, is to keep that regularity all the time.
What a beautiful halt.
Yeah, and it's interesting actually, guys, that out of all the riders we've seen, apart from Frederick as well, the only one that have halted was C on their body, where it should be on the rider's body, not the horse's shoulders. So it's been quite interesting how accurate she was there, and it paid off. And you just saw there that rhythm change that I was talking about a bit earlier. Really good expression in the extended trot, but again, that slight rhythm loss towards the end. I would just like to see him a little bit quicker there, going from the Passage into the Piaffe.
Yeah, just seemed to lose the activity, just to lose that sort of energy a little bit into the Piaffe.
He did, considering how much expression and energy he has in the collected trot. I would like to see more of that in the Passage and the Piaffe, but maybe she's being a bit careful coming into the first Piaffe Passage. Maybe she knows, you know, she knows him very well, that she can't add too much pressure, too much power too early on. And again, you know, we've got to know these riders are doing what they feel is right out there. They're reading the horse. And I truly think that if you listen, the horse will give you the answers. So you just have to sometimes trust what you're feeling. A very smooth transition coming into the collected walk.
Yeah, the extended walk, just looking for that sort of V that you were talking about earlier. Just maybe looking for a bit more over track.
Yes, exactly. It was nice there as well, going a very good transition to the Passage, where she was able to pat his neck as well, that you know that he's really listening to her. But it's just there. You'd like to see the Passage get a bit quicker before she then comes into the Piaffe. You know, 12 to 15 steps must be shown in the Piaffe. And it's always interesting when you watch, actually, that canter transition, how the riders really make sure they've got the horse wrapped around their inside leg, that body bend, that banana you like me to use there, Gareth, because then you know they're going to get that canter transition. That was it. That was a shame there. He just suddenly lost concentration there in the two-time changes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, of course, that reflected in the marks. It's the first time they've taken a real hit in this test.
You know, there's got to be the impulsion shown here in the extended canter, and a clear transition here, allowing the horse to shorten the wheelbase to create the jump, then get that flying change. And the 5 half passes either side of the centre line. And it's always interesting how you watch this and you think, oh, that doesn't look too difficult. But when you ride it,
yes, it does.
Yes, it does. But when you ride it, everything comes up so fast. And if you don't get the right step at the right time, you're not going to get the flying change. You're then not going to get the next 6. So it really is amazing how accurate you've got to be. He was just late to her aid there in that first flying change into the 1-times. I mean, she has got the 1-times, they are clean, but he wasn't on her aid to begin with.
Yeah, so important to get them right from the start.
It is, and he's actually looks like he goes a little bit stallionly on her, actually, in those changes. He's not staying in front of the leg, he's sort of sucking back a bit.
Just losing the energy a little bit in that first pirouette.
That was a better single change, though. Yeah, much more ground cover and forward impulsion.
Better to the right.
Yeah, exactly. When you ride the canter pirouette, it really is from the inside leg to the outside rein. And that was a very clear canter pirouette where she'd shown that.
Still at the moment, keeping a bark over 70%.
And it was a very good extension regarding the legs, but you'd like to see him extend the frame as well in the extended trot, be able to open up that little bit more.
To show a little bit more lengthening.
Yeah. Again, you just want to see him shorten, rev a bit more in the passage so that he can come into the piaffe a bit quicker. But again, that was a much better piaffe than what we've seen already in the test with the combination, which we've seen a lot today. It's quite interesting how the last centre line is sort of a make or break. You know, the horse is either better or it doesn't happen. Good hold.
Very nice hold to finish as well to get things back underway here in this Grand Prix test for the FEI Dressage World Cup. It is Fiona Dance, Ceremony Pierce there for Australia, who starts things off again and has kept her average well over the 70% mark throughout the course of the test, despite that one real issue that cropped up in the flying changes, the 2-time flying changes, where that little mistake crept in. But nevertheless, here is the score. And as you can see, it is certainly strong enough to put them into the top 4. At E, 72.065. At H, 70.109. At C, 71.087. At M, 70.543. And at B, 71.739. Totaling up at 71.109. And that, as I say, goes in to 4th place at the moment. It means that we also have 5 scores that are over that 70, well, all over 71%. So still the leading score, 74.109. Just getting to look at some of the replays.
Yeah, and you see there that, you know, how much expression here. I mean, look at that. I love a bit of slow-mo. You
I've
know,
always said that about slow-mo. Whether
I
it be
mean, look at that.
dressage or jumping, there is no better way to see a horse, the muscle structure, the energy, the elasticity, just the sheer elegance when you see it in slow-mo. It just takes your breath away. Now, for the Netherlands, it is Marika van der Putten riding here with Torvelsten's Titanium RS2, the 10-year-old gelding by Totelas out of Estelle, this Danish warm blood for the next of our Dutch challengers. New ride this year. Went to Herning, completed in the Grand Prix, scoring 71.118%.
It was just the same there, how he left his right hind out into the halt. Yeah, a very bold extended trot. You know, again, we can clearly see here how the horse has so much expression in front. You just would like to see him be a bit quicker behind, come up in his stomach, over his back a bit more into the contact.
Yeah, you see the freedom in front, ideally in the extended trot, but you need to see that power, that engine working at full steam from behind.
Yeah, I always think that if you draw a circle around the horse and rider and there's a continuous arrow, you want the energy to continuously travel around the circle from the hind leg through to the contact back again. And I think that's always something quite important to think of. So the energy is always traveling forward into the contact. And at times here, he almost comes a bit too high in the shoulder in front, which then slows him down too much behind.
Ooh, a little bit quick.
Exactly. Yeah, that explains that exactly. Because he basically doesn't take enough carriage behind, then, for example, the rein back, then the balance is too quick. Lost rhythm there in the extended trot. Good transition into the passage. And that's really what the judges want to see. You know, they want to see you go extended trot, passage. No messing around in the middle. Very nice expression to the passage. I think we can clearly see that the passage piaffe of this horse's party trick.
Yeah, really, really strong piaffe.
Yeah, look at that. Lovely.
Looking to be a lovely transition as well, out of the piaffe, back into the passage. It's amazing how some horses just find it so much easier than others.
It really is. And, you know, it's amazing that you can have a horse bred the best in the world. It doesn't mean it's going to piaffe and passage. You know, it really is something that's down to the horse itself. And you can just see there when you saw how its normal trot, collected trot was, and all of a sudden you're shortening to the piaffe passage. I mean, really, really nice. Again, we'd just like to see more over track there in the extended walk, taking the contact forward and having him a bit rounder coming into that transition into the collected walk.
Yeah, that reflected in the marks as well with the extended walk. Of course, an important part of the test. Just these two chances to show with the walk, with the extended walk and the collected, both having the double coefficient, double score.
But if you really watch here, and this horse shows it fantastically, is that pause between each diagonal pair. Yeah, it's, you know, the correct rhythm and the correct footfall. And there wasn't a pause, there wasn't an interruption. That was a very clear transition from the passage to the piaffe. And we must remember that those transitions are marked. Yeah, it's
They
so
certainly
important.
Are. But again, just showing, I think, as good as we've seen today so far in the piaffe.
Yeah, I would agree. And just coming on this short side, and you know, this short side is fundamental in making sure that you've got the horse on your seat, on your legs before you come into the two-time changes. And again, you can see that the horse has got the bounce in the canter, but what it's slightly lacking is that bounce with the ground cover, the ability to take the stride more forward. Clear preparation there through the corner for the extended canter. And there's a lot to do at the end there. You've got to be able to collect the horse in the extended canter, then get the brand new body bend ready for the flying change. I think what she's got to be a little bit careful here in the zigzag, that he doesn't curl too much in the contact. You want him to still keep the pole up and the nose out within the half passes. Again, you can clearly see that he's really listening to her, listening to every aid. It was a very accurate zigzag. Again, here you can clearly see the correct changes in the one-time changes, but again, you would just like to see them bigger. Yeah, every change to have more ground cover, just for those higher marks.
Just to see the horse just travelling a little bit more accurate in the movement, but just again, just needing to show a little bit more expression. Ground cover, as you say, as they come down to the first of the pirouettes.
And again, there you would just like to see him almost bring his pelvis underneath himself a bit more to sit and come up in the shoulder to allow that air time. You know, the inside leg is making sure that every other stride is an exit stride. One stride sideways, one stride forward, one side stride sideways, one stride forward. So the horse is always able to keep that forward impulsion. Smooth transition into the collected trot. You could just see, though, ever so slightly just fell onto the shoulder there. Much more confidence shown here in the last extended trot.
Again, though, you just might want to see a little bit more coming from behind.
And again, coming into his party piece now, into that passage. And again, there you can clearly see how he's bending through the stifle to the hop, right through to the fetlock. Really bending his joints to allowing that pause within the passage.
Really strong again, example within the piaffe and then into the passage to finish, of course. That transition now so important. But a very strong end. Very nicely done.
Yeah, very nice passage. Super job.
Party trick, it may well be, but what it is a beautiful expression and demonstration of the movement. Really, really nice to see. And overall, a very, very nice test from Marika van der Putten there, and Telversten's Titanium RS2 for the Netherlands. So she says thank you to the crowd, and most of all, thank you to her gelding, that wonderful ride that we've just seen. I'm sure there'll be more and more to come from them. So very exciting partnership. Look at the scores as well. So there we have it at E71087, at H72609, at C71304, at M72717, and at B73478. And they now go into fourth place, 72239, just outside of that top three. They get another up on to a score of 72+%. But it is still a leading score of 74.109 from Frederik Wanders that's leading the way. As we go back in to some of the slow-mo highlights that we so enjoy, because they really do show off these dressage horses at their very, very best. And you can really see the elegance, Bobby.
You can, and I was really hoping they'd do a slow-mo here on the canter pirouette, because it just gives you the ability at home to be able to see what the horse's body is doing. You know, where is their weight distributed? You know, what are they actually doing with each footfall? And again, here coming into the two-time changes, you know, the ability the horses have to jump from one diagonal pair to the other.
Well, we move on to Finland, to Emma Carrera riding here with Greek Air, the 11-year-old gelding by IPS Graboldi out of a Florestan mare. Emma, who has got plenty of championship experience. Rode a wonderful horse called Cine Spirit in London in the Olympics in 2012. Also went to the World Games and European Championships with that horse. This is a horse she's produced. In fact, we first saw it as a 7-year-old in Arroyo at the Young Horse World Championships. More recently, now established in Grand Prix Sport, competed in Wilhelmsburg, finished 6th in the Grand Prix that day with 72.737%. Greek Air and Emma Canavera for Finland.
A very clear transition from Emma there, coming back from that extended trot. And I think, what you really want to watch here in the test is how Emma really sets up every movement to get through the Grand Prix. You've got one stride of leg yield here to the right to introduce the new body bend to the left. That new banana shape round the rider's new inside leg to the left to enable the horse to be able to cross through on those diagonal pairs. And again here coming through the corner, using the corner to get the horse to sit well enough into the halt. I mean, almost square there, slightly right fore, but I mean, very well ridden.
Splitting hairs, it looked good.
And it really does, show that if you don't come in and have that correct halt to get the rein back, the transition out is so, so difficult. And the extended trot, it's there, but it's either good or bad, depending on the horse. If the horse has a tendency to get a little bit too long, then the extended trot isn't so helpful. If the horse has a tendency to get a little bit behind you, then the extended trot is perfect before the passage. I would just like to see him travel a bit more forward between both legs. You can just see there ever so slightly how he's swinging his quarters left and right. He's not channeling himself through into the bridle between Emma's legs.
Just try and make it look a little bit more fluent in places.
And again, coming into the extended walk, where you've got to show the regularity of each footfall, that clear V under the horse's tummy, that clear 4-beat. And they really want to see the freedom of the shoulder as well, and the contact stretching out to the bit. The word extended means extend their whole body. And then we have the collected walk here. Well, it's all about really, you've got to show the relaxation. You've got to show the overtrack and the activity, but not too much activity that it shows the tension, but enough that you can get into this passage transition here.
Good transition.
And it's very helpful having the turn there at R, just to get the horse to sit a bit more behind. And, you could really use that turn to get the horse a bit more active, a bit more underneath him, to be able to then come into the piaffe. And again, we've said this a lot, but again, clever riding. You could just see there he was starting to pause, starting to stall, and she very cleverly just quickened the piaffe just to help him. And that's why it's so important you have the correct training at home, that you have that adjustability within each pace, within each movement, so that you're able, for example, like that, to suddenly rev the piaffe.
Consistent changes.
Yeah, clear changes. You just want to see him take that energy forward a bit more through the shoulder into the contact in front. So he's traveling a bit more in front of her. Like there. You want him a little bit more in front of her seat. Just so he stays up. She's going to need to keep him up here before the flying change. Very good.
Careful that doesn't sort of flatten out. You need that collection into that change.
Yeah, you really do. And you'll just see here, then he had the little mistake there in the flying change, because Emma's not quite able to create, to get the next body bend. Yeah, so when you watch the half pass, wait, bend, change, which she was able to do on the last one, but not quite in the middle, which is why that mistake was a bit together behind. She's really pulling in the marks that when we talk about, a bit more ground cover or a little bit more through the shoulder, it's to get even higher marks.
Yeah, that's where you start moving from the 7s to the 8s,
exactly.
And then maybe beyond.
Yeah. And again, the one-time changes were clean. They were clear. But if you had a bigger stride, you've got a bigger mark. But the biggest thing here is a very correct test. You know, you need a 7 for every movement, and it's a 70% test.
And at the moment, it is over 70% with those current averages.
As you can see how Emma made him wait on the outside hind leg. He just wants to turn ahead of her on that right shoulder, which is why the flying
changed
change
out
to the
a little
left
bit there.
happened. Yeah, because he just lost balance. You can think if he's falling on the right shoulder, the only exit is the left shoulder. So that's why the flying change happened.
And you can see how much of an effect that has on the mark as well, because of course, again, double score coefficient there. And it does, for the first time, just drag that score down below the 70%.
But now we're coming to the last centre line where she can still bring in the extra marks. You know, she still has the ×2 in the Piaffe. Yeah, you can just see there how she's just saying to him, stay with me, stay in front of my seat, keeping the energy forward and keeping the Piaffe stepping forward. You can just see there how he wants to step back slightly on the right hind leg, not step forward under his stomach.
Good transition out of the pier back into the passage, and has certainly done all that she can down that centre line. I get a feeling it will push her back up and over that 70% mark, because it was very, very strong towards the end. It was just that one little hiccup in the pirouette towards the end of the test that really did drag the score in the wrong direction. Everything else was certainly pushing a very strong average here today for Emma and Greek Air, the Finnish partnership. Emma Canavera there with that wonderful ride. Greek Air, the 11-year-old gelding. Still, of course, as well, another 5 to go as we have a little look at the scores. And here they are. At E, 70.761. At H, 68.913. C, 72.391. At M, 70. And at B, 70. They agree. So it's a total of 70.413 and into 7th place.
And that's an incredibly good mark, because if you think about that Canterbury, that mistake, it's double marks. So it's so costly with 6 judges. I mean, that is extortionate. So to still get that score, you know, that's absolutely brilliant. That just shows the quality of the test.
Yeah, it shows there was plenty. 7s, 7.5s, the 8s were there as well, and they were there consistently throughout the test, and that just keeps you up and over when you have that one little error, and that's all it was, because the rest very, very strong from Emma Canavera there to the moment go into 7th place. Well, we move across to another partnership, and it is Germany this time. One of the greats of German equestrian sport, in my opinion, is Ingrid Klimke. Today with Franziskus FRH, the 14-year-old stallion by Peter Tanz out of an Alabaster mare. Of course, Ingrid, who has been so successful in the world of eventing alongside the world of dressage, of course. 10 gold medals at Olympic and World Championship in eventing. Rode this year at the World Championships as well in dressage. And this is a horse that she has produced and developed so very, very well. Their last outing in Zagreb in Poland, they scored in the Grand Prix 75.522%.
And a very strong start here already. I mean, so much expression there in the extended trot. And, you know, she doesn't really need an introduction, does she? She's an incredibly experienced rider. And you can see here already how she's even set up the first 4 movements. You know, how much she knows exactly what she's doing out there in the arena. Very smooth changeover in the half pass to the left.
Beautifully square halt, although just a little early.
It's a shame, isn't it? It's a super halt, but sadly not at sea. So she is going to lose a mark or so for that, but a good rein back and a good trot off. And a clear transition into the extended trot again.
Very nice extended trot.
Yeah, and she's going to have to really want to activate him here. Yeah, you could see there how she slightly slowed the extended trot down, activated him before she asked for the passage, just to make sure that she's got him stepping underneath himself, keeping that energy. And again, there in the piaffe, you know, he needs to take the contact a bit more forward, to take the steps a bit more forward. He actually oversat and lost the impulsion there within the piaffe. But very strong transition again into the passage. And that's one thing about him, you know, he's an absolute lovely horse and lovely expression in front, but sometimes just shows his weakness behind occasionally. And you can see that where he came into the piaffe, he didn't keep the quickness, the push from the hind leg needed. And again, there you can just see that in the extended walk. I'd like to see more over track, pushing forward into the contact, extending the neck a bit more.
A little bit more marching, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. You can just see here how she's preparing him, really getting him deep into that corner, using the corner to get him sit behind, ready for that passage transition. That's a much better rhythm this time. He would just need to be a bit quicker and again in front of the leg. And you can see that when, you know, she has to come out into the passage, he's just a bit too slow. He's not quite active and keeping the smoothness within the transition. But the overall picture is incredibly impressive. He's got a super frame. And you can see that, you know, already on a huge mark.
Yeah, those scores certainly 7.5s, plenty of 8s, and that is allowing Ingrid to certainly now perhaps challenge Frederick at the top here. The mark's very even, in fact. For the first time, she finds herself in front. The two-time changes looking very good.
They were absolutely super. You know, he stayed uphill. The frame was really good. Again, here, he really shows the flying change. It's so definite. I am changing now. And it's so clear. And I think the biggest thing is here, look how much he's in self-carriage. Yeah, you can really see how he's holding himself up there, supporting himself. Good preparation in the zigzag. And again, a lovely flying change.
Really nice control. And of course, again, double marks through the zigzag line.
Whoa, yeah, she was clever. Yeah, because the 6 one-time change in, he went to do that to her and she managed to catch it. But sadly, he got her there, which is a bit shame. Because they were looking really super. And that's the thing when you're out there, you know, you never know what's going to happen. In the warm-up, I bet they were perfect. Well recovered coming into the canter pirouette.
Yeah, really lovely canter pirouette, showing plenty of energy.
And there, you can see how she made the canter bigger before she asked for the flying change to make sure that she got that ground cover. And that's slightly what we wanted to see a bit more from the horse before.
Again, lovely pirouette to the right.
Good transition there into the collected trot. You can just see there how she's making him wait a little bit more in the forehand so that she can get the transition into the extended.
Really strong extended trot.
Coming down to this final centre line, the finale of the test.
It's going to be very close in terms of the marks. You can see just how tight things are. There's plenty available on this centre line.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to this piaffe. If she can keep him stepping forward, much better, much better. Yeah, a little bit of rhythm loss coming out into the passage, but the piaffe was a lot better. Be very interesting to see what score she's going to end up on.
Good strong passage to finish as well. The halt's going to be important because it really is going to take all of the marks for Ingrid Klinker, though. It does look good. It does look very good indeed. Some outstanding riding from an outstanding rider. A real star, of course. She was here on Wednesday night in the arena in the eventing, absolutely flying over the solid fences, and then today into the world of dressage, and purely just that one little problem that really reared its head in the flying changes, which she'd already done a remarkable job to recover from before it hit her again. But outside of that, everything else she rode as well as you could expect, and seeing a strong outing from Francesca's FRH, strong enough. Look at that, new leader. And it's tight, but it is into the lead at E75.109, 874.239 at C75.217, at M75, and at B72.391. So it is 74.391, and that just a couple of tenths of a percent ahead of Frederik Wanders, who now sits in second place. And it means that Germany are 1 and 2. And she got a massive reception from this crowd. It's not quite full in the arena yet, but I have to say they certainly get behind their local stars. And there was a lot to like, a lot to enjoy there, Bobby. And
there really was.
The extended's really looking good. It was just that, I mean, the score would have been a good another percentage point higher had that little error not happened in the changes, but nevertheless.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, what an incredible ride. Like you said, to be here already for the, already doing the other classes as well as doing the Grand Prix, it's very impressive.
Plenty still that will impress us, I am sure, as we move on now to Emily Schulten's riding Indian Rock, the 9-year-old stallion by Apache. Of course, Apache was her ride at the World Games in 2018 and the World Cup final in 2019. She had a great ride, Desperado, that took her to Team Silver of the Europeans in 2019. Five-star debut in Rotterdam this year. Rode this horse, Indian Rock, for Emily Schultens.
I mean, to be out coming down that centre line at 9 years old is incredibly impressive. And what an impressive horse it is. Beautiful extension there in the forearm, in the extended trot, and you can see there how he's able to push behind as well, keep the energy travelling forward. Look at that height. And you can see as well how he has the adjustability. You know, she was able to make him a little bit bigger on the short side, connect him, collect him again, to keep that impulsion in the trot into the half passes, to keep the expression.
Of course, this her ride as well this year in Herning. Got all the way through to the freestyle. 74.410 was her Grand Prix score at the World Championships.
Super. Five very clear steps back, super halt, and transition into the collected trot. Yeah, very well ridden there going into the passage. I mean, look at the ability of this horse, the expression that the horse has in front at such a young age. And there, you can just see where he's a little bit green there in the Piaffe on the way out. Instead of travelling forward, he oversat a bit more, so he just lost the rhythm behind. But I mean, you know, another year's time, it's going to be, wow.
Yeah, very strong potential in the Piaffe and the Passage. And still scoring very strong marks as it stands.
Very nice over track in the extended walk. And you can see there where she's allowing her hands forward to say to him it's okay to go out into the contact. And I think the biggest thing is here how much power and energy he has. You know, all that energy, kinetic energy in the collected trot, to then having this relaxation here that he's showing in the walk. I mean, the maturity this horse is showing in this test is very, very good. Good rhythm in the passage. Much better transition into the piaffe. And 12 to 15 steps, but she came out just a bit earlier there.
I was going to say, I think it was just a little.
Yeah, she started to feel him oversit. And again, you know, this is experience for him. This is a horse that she's looking at, you know, going into the year. And you can just see there that he was offering too much, which is why there was that mistake, that pause in the canter transition to the left there.
But it's back to that point of risk and reward. Sometimes just giving up a mark here to keep that concentration, keep that calmness and that rhythm.
Yeah, definitely. And if the mistake's happening because they're offering too much, I think that's a nicer way to have it, isn't it? Very nice 2-time changes. And I think what's so special about this young horse is that it's got a super walk, trot and canter. You know, it's got a really good pace. Very nice flying change. Just needs to keep the energy there just before the flying change. Needs to be careful, just not over collect, just to lose the impulsion. Now she's starting to ride him a little bit more forward there. That was much better.
Yeah, that line definitely getting stronger and stronger as she went through it. Going back to what you said a few times today, it's about that control. Now we come to the changes.
And you can just see here in the flying changes how much jump he has. He just at the moment.
Yeah, oh dear.
Yeah, you know, I think she knew there was going to be mistakes in those anyway. You know, with a horse with that much canter and power and only 9 years old, I don't think, you know, that really matters. He at the moment can't hold that pause moment for those one-time changes and to stay quick enough with the amount of air time that he naturally offers within the canter. Very nice flying change to the right. And she has to be careful. It's a fine line because if she over-collects him, he adds too much height. But she needs the collection to help him. And you can just see there on that second half, he over-collected. So then he, you know, made that little bit mistake behind. But that's just, you know, green mistakes. I mean, you know, such small things at the end of the day.
They have a big effect on your mark when you're at this level and you're competing. But you can just sort of, you can accept them away because it's all part of the process of learning. And this is a super ride that only 9 to have already achieved, and the level and the standard to which it's able to compete with Emily is quite something.
I mean, look at that, coming down your last centre line with a passage like that. You know, the horse just wants to keep giving. And if, you know, she's got to be a little bit careful. Now he's almost offering too much coming into the piaffe. And you can just see that as soon as he can almost just take that weight a bit more forward, take the nose a bit more forward, then that piaffe is just going to be as good as the passage.
Still very nice finish as well as they come through that final passage moment and into the final lovely square halt to finish as well.
Wow.
So lovely to see, lovely to watch. India Rank and Emily Schultens for the Netherlands. A score in a moment, but again, very strong over 70% mark, and again, really excited to be able to follow them over the next couple of years, next 12-18 months. Even when you look over the next 6 months, I think you're going to see just a horse that continues to get better and better and strengthens up in those movements, because the will and the ability is all there in abundance. And Indian Rock today with a very nice score as well. At E, 71.739. At H, 71.848. At C, 71.848. Identical marks. At M, 73.804. And at B, 71.522. So 72.152% is the mark. 72.152 there for Emily and Indian Rock. I think a good score all round. At the moment, to remind you, Inga Knuckler is leading the way. The German superstar, 74.391, ahead of Frederick Wanders and Bluetooth OLD on 74.109. And Dinja van Liere is sitting in third, 72.587. It's got so much movement.
It really has. I was just sat there watching you think, oh, that's absolutely lovely. And I think just quickly, the biggest thing for me was its attitude, how it just walked around out of the arena on a long rein. You know, what a super horse.
Well, on we go to another of the superstars for Germany. 3 German riders to take us to the finish. So the one thing we do know is Germany will win the Grand Prix, but which rider? It could be any of them. It is the turn of Dorothee Schneider now with Faustus today, this 14-year-old gelding by Falsterbo out of a Forest mare. Dorothee, of course, rode this fabulous horse to Team Gold at the Europeans last year. Amazing ride for the Team Gold in Rio and Tokyo, the great Showtime FRH. This is a ride as well that has had 7 different wins already this year at Grand Prix and at freestyle level. Faustus and Dorothee Schneider.
Very good preparation coming in after the extended trot. And I think, you know, the biggest thing about this combination is, you know, they're very experienced together, know each other incredibly well. How when you watch them, they look like they have so much time. They don't look like they're having to rush. They don't look like everything's coming up really quickly. You can see here, you know, that she has the time to put the bend in. She has the time to ask for the half pass. And that just comes down to the amount of control that the horse has, the ability to be adjustable. A little bit shame that the right hind leg was slightly out behind. Very crisp transition back into the collected trot. Very nice frame in the extended trot. You can really see how he extended through the body. Very nice activity behind the passage. You can just see that you'd like him to be a little bit quicker in front. Yeah, you almost like the front feet get a little bit stuck in mud, but the hind legs stay nice and quick. So he's got to learn to be able to keep that, to keep equal through the body with the hind legs and the front legs. Good transition into the passage.
A very correct test so far. Very accurate in the way it's ridden. You just somehow feel you're just looking for that little bit more sort of expression in a few places. Yeah,
it's a very correct horse, and that's one thing where she'll keep getting, you know, how we were saying, you get a 7 for every movement, you get a 70%, and she'll be slightly above that. But when she can suddenly add more on top of that, then you're going to get the really big marks. Just see here how she's making that wheelbase a little bit shorter, getting ready for the passage transition, having that moment, you know, those 2 strides to activate him before she asked for the passage. You can see there how he became a little bit more engaged after the turn, which actually has really helped the Piaffe. That's it. And again, just want to see him ever so slightly quicker, but much better Piaffe than the first one. You can really start to get into him a little bit more now, and you can see that here in the passage, that it's much smoother. That clear body bend from that canter transition, you know, knowing that for a horse to be straight, they have to have a form of body bend for the diagonal pairs to come under the body. Nice jump in the 2 time changes. just a shame there. He was just a bit slow to the 8, then just missed the 2. Who ended up having the 1 times, which is a big shame. I mean, look at the ability that Dorothy has to get into the corners there. You know, he's so much on his seat. He has the ability to collect the, you know, she has so much more time to use the arena. And that's one thing, you know, when you're riding the Grand Prix, use every space you have. You know, you need every little bit of time. He was just ahead of her there in that flying change to the right. Very good job to get him back quickly, but I'm not quite sure that was her change.
Again, though, outside of the little issue in there, 2 times, just keeping it all very accurate. The marks is coming along with it at the moment.
She's going to be very strict. She isn't going to miss these 1 times.
She's looking quite strong in the 1 times.
Yeah, very good. She was not letting a mistake happen there.
Really rode that well. Now to the pirouettes. Setting up.
And that was, I really liked that. You could really see how Dorothy put the bend in before she asked. You know, okay, he made it a little bit small and he stopped stepping that forward impulsion. But the preparation into it was very good. But it's important that you always think about the horses turning, but the inside forearm has to jump ever so slightly there. He's just turning onto that inside shoulder. He's not quite letting her ride that uphill exit stride. Good transition going into the collected trot. You know, you can see that it's extending through the body. I'd like to see a bit more ground cover, but then again, very correct, very good frame.
Final chance to pick up the marks on the centre line.
Yeah, much better transition coming into the Piaffe, and you can see how much clearer the Piaffe is here now. Yeah, much clearer the rhythm is. He was really good going into the contact.
Nice transition out as well into the passage.
Yeah, really smart here coming into that last halt.
And a very good halt to add to it as well. So certainly will have helped her score. You saw it rise and rise on the average there for Dorothy Schneider towards the end. That last segment of the test coming on very, very nicely indeed, and very accurately ridden. And of course, then the marks picking up more and more. Just that one little problem in the 2-time changes with that tiny little mistake at the end, and that realistically the only part of the test that really cost her. Everything else sort of holding together with a good strong average, but it was certainly getting stronger and stronger towards the end, and some good general impression marks on the collectives coming in from the judges as well, because here are the scores, and it is Germany 1-2-3 now, because at E 74-130, at H 72-391, at C 71-848, at M 74-130, and at B 72.5. It is 73 dead, the score, and into the top 3 here in the Grand Prix competition for Dorothy Schneider, with Faustus there for Germany. So I'm sure be very happy with the way that's worked out today. Ingrid Klinker still leading though from Frederick Waters, and now Dorothy into third. The German riders coming to the fore here, quite appropriately I guess, at the Stuttgart German Masters. But again, I'm just really impressed with the accuracy of every movement. As I say, ignore the mistake. It was just such a well put together test.
And that's one thing Dorothy will know that. Yeah, she'll know that she can't rely on the fact that he has all that expression. She has to be on point. She has to be incredibly accurate and make sure that she gets the mark at every movement she can. And
that is something this lady knows only too well. She has done it time and time again. It is Isabell Werth for Germany with DSP Quants, 12-year-old stallion by quarterback, for the lady that is a 4-time winner of the FEI Dressage World Cup title. A lady who has won 41 championship gold medals in her career. This is the horse that she rode last time out at the World Championships in Herning. She finished in 5th in the Grand Prix that day on a score of 77.127%. This has been a happy hunting ground over the years for Isabell, who won the Grand Prix here for the last 3 occasions in 2017, 18 and 19.
I have to say, Gav, it just gives me goosebumps when you read out like everything that she's achieved. It is absolutely insane.
She has been, without question, the leading light in the sport. There are those that have come and certainly challenged over the years, but she has been a consistent force on so many superstar horses. When you consider the likes of Belarus, of Weigard, of Satchmo, Gigolo, the list is endless, and now it is this one that is coming to the fore.
And I think, you know, when you're all watching this at home and things, I think what you've got to look at is the ability that Isabell has to be able to keep the impulsion through the horse's whole body. If you watch the horse, the whole body is moving within the trot. You know, they never look blocked. They always are moving through the body, always that positive energy going through to that forward contact.
You can see from the marks already what a strong start it is.
And, you know, just see here in the passage how she uses her seat to keep the horse active. Very good transition into the Piaffe. Yeah, I mean, you know, just like that, you know, it's very good. Smooth reaction going from the passage straight into the Piaffe, into the passage again. And you don't notice the change. You blink and all of a sudden she's in the next movement. And that's what it's all about.
Well, it's like we watched a moment with Dorothy, and I was impressed with the accuracy of the way the test was ridden. Again, Isabell riding an accurate test, but it's that step change. It's just that visual difference. Just those extra few percentage marks are always going to come.
And she always has to be quite careful in the walk. He can have a tendency sometimes to get a little bit tight in the walk.
Yeah, just losing the rhythm just a little bit.
Yeah, so she very cleverly not over collecting him, letting him have that open frame. You know, she just knows she has to get through the walk. She can't adjust it. She's just got to do what she's got to do to get them back into the passage. Very good transition coming into the passage. And again here, look at the body bend that Isabell had on the turn. She didn't just ride it like a square. She actually allowed him to turn around her inside leg to come into the Piaffe. And even there, she still has right body bend. So the diagonal pairs are much clearer. Now she's leg yielding to the right, allowing him to bend left around her new inside leg. Something so simple makes the whole thing look a lot more clearer, a lot smoother. And then she knows that she's going to get the counter transition because he's already around her new inside leg. And it's about, you know, riding the Grand Prix and putting the horse in the position it needs to be able to perform the movement in the way that you want it. When Isabell rides the changes, she rides it with the seat. You know, she doesn't make the mistake. When she rode him in Lyon, he had a mistake in the 2-time changes. He sort of took over. So you could clearly see there that she wasn't allowing him to do that.
Lightning is certainly not going to strike twice with Isabell and mistakes.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
You can see again the average scores. So many 8s appearing.
And I think it's dropped a little bit there just from the extended and collected walk.
Yeah, that's the only time that it's been in any way
lower than an 8. Super positioning. You know, look at the way she's able to make the horse bend and keep him uphill and keep him traveling forward. You know, that in itself is class.
And so strong through these important moments where all these double marks, double collective, double coefficient marks come together. And they're demonstrating what you were saying earlier compared to some we've seen. It's not just having the ability to make the change, it's just being able to carry things a little bit more forward.
It's having that extra bit of expression, that extra bit of engagement. Yeah, look here. This is what I've been talking about as much as I could today.
Beautiful pirouette.
Yeah, look at the bend. But the bend isn't just in the neck, it's in the body. So the horse is able to sit behind. Like again here, she's leg yielding him slightly to the left to get the body bend around her right leg. And then she's able to make him sit. And that's the key. That's where the good canter pirouettes come from. You can just see her bending him to the left there to make it very clear that she wants to trot transition.
Lovely transition.
Very nice expression in the extended trot. And see there, the ability just to say, okay, let's have one stride of passage. Let's just come back. Let's just come to that extended trot with the engagement. Yeah, so there's no time that she ever stalls him. She always allows that energy to travel around the body. And she always rides the last center line like it's her last one ever, doesn't she?
Oh, outstanding performance so far, and yet again.
Absolutely beautiful. You've got the frame, you've got the height, you've got the engagement, and he knows the halt's coming.
It is all coming together for Isabell Werth here in Stuttgart in the Grand Prix for this FEI Dressage World Cup round. Wow. No doubt about it, the best we have seen so far. We'll look forward to the score because Isabell making sure that she has done everything to continue that outstanding record that she has here in the Grand Prix test. She's won the past 3. Will it be enough to make it on our return, having been away from Stuttgart for the last couple of years? But it was that step change. It was accurate. It was brilliantly ridden. There was just that one little moment. But outside of that, look at the scores at E78.587, at H76.087, at C76.087, at M77.391, and at B77.935. So we are over 77%, 77.217. That is Isabell doing what Isabell does. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Short of the little moment she had in the collected walk, is the only place she would have been pulled down on the score. And today, really, really strong test with DSB Quants there to lead the way here on home soil with just one more combination left to go. Magical to watch, and you can only just imagine and look forward now to seeing them back in the freestyle tomorrow, Bobby.
It's just, I can't stop smiling. I just think it's all incredibly exciting, and what a test to be able to sit and witness. You know, yeah, freestyle is going to be pretty impressive.
Outstanding performance. So she leads. Isabell in front now, ahead of Inga Klinker in second. Frederik Randers drops into third. Dorothy Schneider fourth. Germany in the top 4. Then Dinja van Liere for the Netherlands is in 5th place, ahead of Jessica van Bredow-Werndl, with Ferdinand down there in 6th place. Well, while Jessica sits in 6th, this man sits on top of the Western European League as it stands, arriving here for the 3rd leg in Stuttgart. It is, of course, her brother. It is Benjamin Werndl here with Daily Mirror, the last to go in the Grand Prix test. A ride of his from the 2019 World Cup final. This is exciting to enjoy. It is a partnership that have had some very good results in the World Cup rounds over this year. Ben, who also has another very good ride, Famoso OLD, that finished 4th in Lyon, was 2nd in the Grand Prix that day. It was his World Championship ride that, of course, took him to 4th individually and that team bronze. But today it is Daily Mirror, Benjamin Werndl.
Very strong start for the combination coming into the first extended trot. And, you know, Ben just makes it look so effortless to watch. You know, he makes it look so easy, like he's not doing anything up there at all. You know, deep down he's doing a lot, but Super expression coming into the half pass to the right. And again, there, the ability to make him wait before he asks for the half pass to the left. And you can just see here how the horse is so consistent into the head carriage. Just again, slightly ashamed about that right hind. Good rein back, and a good transition into the collected trot. And I think, you know, this horse looks like he's on springs.
I was going to say, again, showing a beautiful extended trot.
And the ability to come into the passage. Yeah, and you can just see there in the passage, he slowed a little bit too much before the piaffe transition. So he just lost the impulsion. The horse almost stalled too much in the piaffe, which is why, sadly, he lost the rhythm there. But tactful riding to get him back into the passage, relaxed enough for the extended walk. And it's such a fine line to be able to have the correct power, the right expression, and the air time without having air time and the horse getting too slow. I think that's why we have to think about collection as not being slow, but as being short and active.
That was as good of an extended walk as I've seen all through this class.
Was that your favourite, Gareth?
Yeah. It was a brilliant walk, and again showing nicely in the collected walk as well, very relaxed.
Very good height coming into the passage. It was a very clear transition from the collected walk. So he's going to want to ride the piaffe a little bit more forward. You can just see here how the horse is almost coming too much up in the wither, stopping in the shoulder, which is stopping that momentum forward, allowing the horse to step forward into the piaffe.
And that's always going to be expensive as well, because again, it's those double marks, and again coming out in the transition through to the passage, and then suddenly one thing leads into another, and it sort of snowballs across 3 sets of marks.
It really does, and it really does highlight, you know, what a super horse, you know, okay, the mistakes are happening, look into the future, but when you look at why that happened there, it's simply just because the horse didn't stay active and quick enough behind, so then he dropped off his aids, and it's costly, especially when you're already riding movements where the horse has to be short in the wheelbase.
He's recovered well, though. He's used that collected canter, set himself up, ridden really nicely through those 2 times.
Yeah, and the horse has so much power in the hind leg, you know, there shouldn't really be a problem here in the canter work now. You know, ideally, really, it should be quite simple to be able to get the horse through the test without the mistakes. It's not so easy for him to stall too much in the canter because he has a little bit more natural impulsion. And if you can just see the change happens, they push the horse over, they wait, they go straight, they change. And the flying change is always the first stride to the next half pass. Change over. Good. Straight change. And that's really important, that you have to ride the sideways stride within the first flying change. Otherwise, you'd never get the correct strides within the zigzag. And then skipping every stride in the one-time changes. Beautifully ridden, and you can just see there how he sort of used a little bit the contact there just to make it very clear to the horse which leg he wanted him to change, so he knew that he wouldn't get a mistake. And I think, you know, coming into the canter pirouettes here, this is where he's going to have to be careful the horse doesn't over collect and get a little bit stuck. He was lucky there that the horse didn't have a mistake, so maybe this way he needs to have a bit more bend. Yeah. And you can just see there how the horse almost oversits, over-prepared.
It almost didn't
stops
move.
That active, yeah, it just pivoted a little bit, didn't it? So it lost that activity, that jump in the hind leg. And that's the only thing, you know, that the horse has to get a bit stronger, has to have the ability, you know, it has a super open frame. Look at that, yeah? It has the ability to extend, and it has the ability to, of course, collect. But it's got to learn to stay quick in the collection work to be able to produce the movements the way that, you know, the way they should be.
Still having scored a very strong average so far. Isabell may well be leading, but is this going to be best of the rest? We will find out. These final movements going to be so important. Just see a
Very
little
well
bit
written, super job.
yeah, just doing a very, very good job just to quieten things down. Just lost a little bit of balance again in the passage to finish, and that again is costly through to the halt, but that was the last to go. Benjamin Vettel there for Germany, the last to come forward in the FEI Grand Prix. The freestyle and the points for the Western European League tomorrow evening here in Stuttgart for the German Masters. The leading score currently that of Isabell Werth, 77-217. I'm not sure that will be challenged, but I'm going to be fascinated to see quite where it slots him in. Of course, Ben, who will be looking to hold on or perhaps extend his lead at the top of the Western European League. He leads the table, looking towards the qualification for Omaha and those World Cup finals next year. As we go back towards the slow-mo replays, just awaiting that score to come through for Daily Mirror 9. And here it is at E75, at H 71,739, at C 71,957, at M 75, and at B 75,326. So 804. So 73,804 it is, and that means he finishes in 4th place. So we just have a little look again. I mean, 18 years young, that gelding, by the great Damon Hill. And Ben still getting a very, very good ride from it to finish off this test, this run. But of course, it does mean Germany absolutely dominate here. And the winner, well, it is the Queen of Dressage and Germany's very, very best. Isabell Werth takes the top spot once more in the Grand Prix here in Stuttgart. She's done it for many, many years in a row now. Will it be the same tomorrow night, though? We will see. DSB Quant 77,217. Franciscus Ingrid Klimke with 74,391, the best of the rest, to finish in second. Hedrick Frederick Wanders and Bluetooth OLD 74,109. Ben there in 4th, as we know, and Dorothy Schneider taking 5th place ahead of the Dutch talent that is Dinja van Liere and Hartzucker. Jessica von Bredow-Werndl, the World Cup current holder of the World Cup final winner last year, with Ferdinand BB today in 7th place. It has been quite some competition. Have you enjoyed this, Bobby?
It's been absolutely fantastic to watch. I mean, a masterclass of dressage. It's been so great to be able to see, the second string of horses for a lot of the riders, to see what's coming now into the future of the sport. And I think it's incredibly exciting.
Well, we'll stay with you throughout the next few moments, because we're getting set up already down there ahead of the presentations. But looking from the top, I guess, is the best place to start. And there, at the moment, you can see, as I mentioned, Ben is leading the standings on the Western European League, and he'll be looking to try and establish himself with a big points advantage, get the points on the board early. Patrick Kittle there, not of course here with us, and when you look, it's Ben that's really got the advantage here this week to be able to put some score, put a little bit of distance between him and the others. There is a long way to go this season, because of course this is only leg 3 of what is 11 rounds here. So and as we look down to some of the highlights, and then we will enjoy some of these fabulous replays, and then come and join you in a moment for the presentation of awards. What a brilliant class it has been. Some wonderful highlights that we've been able to see as well with those slow-mo replays. But nevertheless, the highlight is that winning test in the Grand Prix. Isabell Werth for DSP Quantz today. All judges agreed, so 77.217, and it's a big chance for her as well to be able to put some, or to be able to really score big here in Stuttgart. She's always gone well here, Bobby, but at the moment she of course sits in 10th place after that score from Lyon a few weeks ago. But I think we'll find she's going to perhaps rise up the order a little bit this week.
Yes, definitely. And I think, you know, when we were talking for the test, the biggest thing for me is she just keeps doing it again and again and again, doesn't she? Producing these horses that are just incredible.
Well, Marieke van der Putten and Hervelten's Titanium RS2, the partnership that finished in 8th place here today. The combination for the Netherlands scoring 72.239, followed in by the reigning FEI Dressage World Cup champion, although today with Ferdinand BB, Jessica von Bredow-Werndl for Germany. Of course, her competition here will qualify her for Omaha to defend the title. The best of the Dutch, Dinja van Liere and Hartsuka for the Netherlands there, 72.587% to take 6th place. Dorothy Schneider with Fastus 94, the German partnership in 5th place, waving to the home fans and the crowd as she takes her lap of honour. And then, of course, following her will be the partnership that finished in 4th. Just having a little look at the judges' table in close-up. Here he is. He was the last to go. He finished in 4th, and Benjamin Werndl riding Daily Mirror 9, 73.804 here with his score today on this very experienced ride. Big smile. They've been getting a huge amount of support, the German riders, as you would only but expect. But they've all just shown just what good riders they are today, Bobby, because one of the things I've taken away from this is it's their ability to react in the saddle. You as riders, that just sort of, you've got that feel and you've just got to predict what's coming sometimes.
Yeah, and it's all down to partnership. It's all down to knowing your horse, having a relationship with your horse. At the end of the day, they're your best friend when you're out there doing something like that. So it's about listening to them and finding out exactly what they need from you as well as. And I think we clearly saw that a lot today with the way, you know, there was a few mistakes with some of the top riders, but it doesn't matter. They were there holding the horse's hand and making sure that everything was how it was be for the horse to have a good experience.
Well, that means we will wait for a moment because the top 3 will be heading our way in but a moment's time. And as I say, it's going to be fascinating. It always is when you move from Grand Prix to freestyle, because despite how good Isabell is, and on paper you have to make her the favourite going into tomorrow, but you know that all of the riders within the top 5 or 6 here can pull something special tomorrow, and well, you just never quite know, do you?
You don't, because the one thing about the freestyle, I think what every rider really enjoys, is the fact that you can inspired by the music you choose, but also the fact that you can design the floor plan how you want it and put the movements where it suits your horse to gain the best marks. I think that's why the marks change so much and so dramatically when it comes to the freestyle. So, you know, who could be the winner tomorrow? It's wide open.
Well, that's what happened just a couple of weeks ago in Lyon when that new floor plan was unveiled from the reigning FEI Dressage World Cup champions. But today, a lady that has won the FEI Dressage World Cup title on 4 separate occasions, and she has won the Grand Prix here in Stuttgart yet again. It is Isabell Werth and DSP Quantz that steps between those famous pillars. The amazing stallion by quarterback taking the top spot, owned by Victoria Max Dreher. And in second place here today, Ingrid Klimke and Franzkus FRH. Frederick Wonders, Bluetooth OLD. It is Germany 1, 2 and 3. What a brilliant performance.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch, Isabell Werth.
Crowd adore her. She's so well respected worldwide. I mean, it is always a pleasure to watch all of these jockeys, all of these riders in action. It is the national anthem for our winning nation, Germany.
Isabell Werth, DSP Quantum.
A lady that has won 41 championship gold medals in her career and, of course, 4 FEI Dressage World Cup titles. There are not many like her, but the presentation to be made now. And as you can see, plenty of smiles down there. She won when we were last here in 2019 on Weigold OLD. When we were here in 2019, she won the Grand Prix. It was Jessica and De Liere that finished in second that day, and then we went to the freestyle and the roles were reversed. Isabel won on Bella Rose here in 2018. She took both the Grand Prix and the freestyle, as she did in 2017, and I'm sure she'll be hoping to do that again here tomorrow. Tomorrow evening we will of course see all of the action with you live here. We get underway tomorrow evening at 5 to 5, the first test at 5 o'clock. That is Central European time, depending on where you're joining us from around the world. But this lady is some star as well, isn't she? Ingrid Klimke, Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, is it good enough to be at one discipline, but multiple disciplines to be at this level? I mean, it's insane, isn't it?
Brilliant over the fences. I mean, as I say, she was here the other night in the eventing, flying around over the solid fences. And as I say, great performance. And Frederick Wonders, of course, this team that were together, slightly different horses, but together at the World Championships this year. Big smile. So you're used to watching Frederick on Duke of Britain, but today, as we've seen with quite a few, just especially early on in the draw, the likes of Jessica with Ferdinand, Frederick there with Bluetooth OLD, some exciting horses around their stables. You can see they've given Isabel a microphone, so with a little bit of luck in a moment, I think we might stand a chance to hear from her if your German is good enough, which I will apologise in advance, mine will not be.
So you're not going to translate for us then, Gareth?
Not at this particular point.
Sie hat von vielen Weltmeisterschaften und Olympischen Spielen berichtet. Schwerpunkte ihrer Berichterstattung sind die internationale Sportpolitik und der Kampf gegen Doping. Dazu berichtet sie neben ihrem Sport vor allem über das Ruder.
Congratulations
Sie
as
ist
well, of
für
course,
ihre Arbeit bereits mit
to
einigen Preisen ausgezeichnet
Victoria
worden.
Maxtura, the owner as well of
der Firma
DSP
Wolf-Preis,
Quants.
1997 der Fairplay-Preis im Sportjournalismus. 2004 hat sie das
Very
Silber
happy
der
owner,
Queen
of course,
bekommen.
owner such a key part
1996 und 2012
of the
wurde sie
sport
zur Sportjournalistin
alongside the
des
grooms as well,
Jahres gewählt.
that work
Jetzt
so
kommt noch
exceptionally
eine
hard to
Auszeichnung hinzu,
bring the
nämlich
team together.
das Deutsche Reiterkreuz in Silber für Efi Simeoni.
Well, let's see if I think we're going to try and have a listen. We'll let you listen if your German is better than mine. I will go quiet for a minute. We'll see if we can pick up a few words from Isabell Werth, our winner.
Ja, meine Damen und Herren, liebe Efi, es ist mir eine besondere Freude, heute in diesem Rahmen und zu diesem Anlass ein paar Worte sagen zu dürfen. Du bist mir als Mensch und als Journalistin in den ganzen gemeinsamen Jahren sehr ans Herz gewachsen. Du bist als Journalistin über allem erhaben. Deine journalistische Arbeit ist nicht nur großartig, sie ist feingeistig, absolut immer faktenorientiert. Du recherchierst, du bist sachlich, du bist kritisch, aber du bist nie unfair. Du bist in deiner Kritik nie populistisch. Du hast für den Reitsport unglaublich viel auch gekämpft und Platz gefunden in der Frankfurter Allgemeinen. Wir sind als Reiter, als Reitsport unglaublich dankbar für deine Arbeit und wir können nur ein ganz, ganz großes Dankeschön sagen, denn nicht alle können von sich behaupten, die Distanz, die Sachlichkeit, die Macht des Journalismus und des Raums auch nicht für Nickeligkeiten zu missbrauchen. Dafür ein ganz, ganz großes Dankeschön. Du hinterlässt große Fußstapfen in deine Nachfolgerin. Du lebst ja noch, nicht, dass wir uns falsch verstehen. Du wirst auch hoffentlich weiterhin noch großartige Artikel und Reportagen schreiben, noch weiter großartige Bücher schreiben. Deine Passion für die Sprache, für das Wort ist sicherlich gelebt. Vielen, vielen Dank für alles und ich hoffe, wir sehen uns noch ganz häufig auf allen Turnieren. Ich habe das große Glück gehabt, dich als Autorin für mein Buch zu gewinnen. Es hätte niemand besser gekonnt, niemand hätte es Stil besser gekonnt. Vielen, vielen Dank dafür, aber es ist kein persönlicher Dank, sondern ein Dank von allen Reitern, von allen Reitsportvertretern. Ups, Quantas, nicht noch eine kleine Kopfnuss verteilen. Vielen, vielen Dank an dieser Stelle und ich hoffe, du bekommst jetzt auch tatsächlich das Reiterkreuz. Jawohl, und es wird hoffentlich nicht die letzte Auszeichnung sein. Du hast sie mehr als verdient. Danke.
Sie wird es bekommen, und zwar aus der Hand vom FN-Präsidiumsmitglied und Finanzkurator wird das Deutsche Reiterkreuz in Silber vergeben durch Herrn
Well done again to Isabell, to Qantas,
Efi Simeoni.
and the presentations continuing down there. Of course, Stuttgart, and a very important event in the equestrian calendar in Germany, which is why it's so missed over the last couple of years. It is a real celebration of all that has been successful within the equestrian disciplines over the course of the past 12 months, and this year taking a special moment as well to award some very special prizes.
So, jetzt das Reiterkreuz steckt. Noch einmal das Foto.
Well, tomorrow night, as I said, it's a big night with the freestyle. We will be underway from 5 to 5 local time here in Germany. And these riders will return. It'll be a fabulous night. It's been a very good Grand Prix, hasn't it, Bobby?
It really has. It's been, like we said earlier, very exciting to be able to see the horses that are coming through, you know, the next sort of generation of the horses with the riders. And I just think it just keeps the sport more exciting. it's competitions like this that just bring the people in to want to watch, to want to be involved, and I just think it's really exciting.
Always exciting. Sport at the very top level is always sport you can enjoy. And when you watch the likes of Isabell and the others as well, they sometimes make it look very easy. It is far, far, far from it. It is an exceptional relationship that these riders have with their horses. It is weeks, months, years of training and the hours of dedication that go in every single day to producing these horses to this level. That is absolutely awe-inspiring, and then you get to see them perform like this, and well, it's got the crowd on their feet already. They've had a great day. Thank you, Bobby, for joining us. I hope that you'll find time at some point over the course of the winter to join in again.
I definitely plan to. I'm not leaving you completely by yourself.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have Bobby Haler with me here in the commentary box for the Grand Prix. Second and third take their lead. Well done again to Inga Ginkler with Franciscus FRH and Frederick Wanders with Bluetooth OLD. It is once again Isabell Werth that comes out on top in the FEI World Cup Dressage Grand Prix. She's not done with the party pieces yet. She's going to play to this crowd that mean so much to her. She won it in 2017, 2018 and 2019. She's done it again when we returned in 2022. It has been a brilliant day of dressage sport for us to enjoy. Make sure you're with us for all of the action here from Stuttgart, but especially, of course, that World Cup here tomorrow night.